That was dope. That was dope. We should do that more often.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Harold, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we have a good one for you, a Victory Monday for your Cleveland Brownies. A very good weekend for Cleveland sports in general, but we'll get to that later. Your Browns moved to 5-4 over the Bengals in a 41-16 victory in what was, for the first time this year, I believe, Jeff, the most complete game by the Browns, coming right off of the departure of Odell Beckham Jr., or, he was put on waivers today. But obviously he did not play. All the controversy that was going into this week, all the criticism that was going into this week, it almost felt like the Browns were going to be just, for some reason, if you told me the Browns were going to get demolished this week by the Bengals, I could have believed it. To be honest with you, I could have believed it because of just we had all the wrong things going on in our building, and the Bengals didn't have a single thing other than coming off of a loss to a bad Jets team. But your Brownies 41-16 in what was the most fun game this year. So, Jeff, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. You cannot script this any better from a fan viewing point of perspective and just from an overall team victory. If you're a head coach, this is what you strive for every single week: a 70-yard rushing touchdown, a 60-yard receiving touchdown, and a 99-yard defensive touchdown. You move up in the division. That's a big win right there. We're not beating some
Huge.
NFC schlub who it doesn't really matter at the end of the year. Besides, we get another win in the win column. We're beating the Cincinnati Bengals, and we really have established this mantra around the Cleveland Browns organization that I don't think me and you have seen since birth. But it's the 6-1 the last 7 games against Cincinnati. We really do own them down in Cincinnati, and they're really developing into our little brother in the sense that even though they're playing great football all year long, we totally shut them down.
Yeah, and that starting with, Baker Mayfield coming in as the quarterback and everything. Just a phenomenal game all around, like you pointed out, with, big stat lines and, big plays from players. So, I mean, for the first time ever, goodness, it feels like we have a lot of good things to talk about. I don't really know where to start. I don't know if we should start with the defense, obviously getting off to a shaky start on that first drive. And then Denzel Ward, like you said, basically 100-yard pick six, just making an excellent play on the ball. The defense in general played phenomenal this week. Obviously, they let a touchdown happen right after that, but played the rest of the game really well. They were probably all gas. You saw Denzel Ward having to get oxygen for basically that entire series. But obviously after that, they played very well, only allowing 16 total points. So, Jeff, where do you want to talk about this defense?
This defense was looking like the same old on that first drive until the interception. I mean, I just can't get over how good they are on first and second downs. And then on third down, it's like, any third down is even later in the game, like when it didn't matter, they were in the third quarter. Cincinnati had like some 3rd and 25s. And I'm just like fully expecting other teams to convert on 3rd and longs at this point, which is a real issue. I think you saw some better creativity from Joe Woods. We've been sending Troy Hill intermittently throughout the year.
Yeah.
What's annoyed me about that play call until this week, and I believe the one time we sent him where he didn't get the sack, I think he did it too. But in prior games this year, we were sending him off the edge, and he was doing like this like stutter step where I think it's his call if he actually goes in for a sack or if he jumps and tries to bat the ball down. And every other time I've seen him run that play, I swear he like pulls up and jumps up in the air. And Troy Hill, who I have actually loved that signing so far, but he's only like 5'8" or 5'9", is he not? 6 foot max. So just go in there, send him all day. I think that's something that they want to do with Grant Delpit as well. Yeah. But I think Troy Hill's just your player who's been out there more often. So sending the pressure, and it's like, wow, we get a sack from someone not named Myles Garrett. It goes that much further for the game plan.
Yeah, and I think with Troy Hill and that point about Grant Delpit is 2 very different body types. Obviously, Delpit, a taller, bigger body, and Hill, a smaller, speedier guy, so he gets there a lot quicker. And we have seen Delpit kind of, besides that Texans game, he has whiffed on a couple of those blitzes that he has been a part of. But yeah, I mean, Joe Woods played his players played a great game. And I think for a scheme, he let his guys play a little bit more man coverage. I think, Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome, they thrive in man coverage. They are just phenomenal. I think we got a little bit lucky on a couple of plays with Jamar Chase. Obviously, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have been phenomenal this year and, dropped their worst game of the year against us with, interceptions and fumbles and, just dropped balls. I don't think we'll get that lucky again this year against this team. I think the next time we meet, it'll be a lot closer. But still, a great game, like you said. I think a lot of people played a lot better. Anthony Walker, having 12, I think, or 14 total tackles, living up to what we signed him for. He looked a lot better, had a sack as well. Troy Hill with 2 sacks. And then Greg, like I said, John Johnson had a interception as well. And Denzel Ward. And I think our corners in general, AJ Green had a good play on the sideline.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Greedy went out with an injury, but just a phenomenal game by our defense. And I think something that we'll begin to see a lot more of. Probably not in this fashion, but hopefully, like we talked about before, it's great to be good on first and second downs, and then giving things up on third and fourth and not getting turnovers was huge. And we could have had more if the one glaring problem for this team, which has been penalties, was not the case. So, Jeff, I know you got a stat for that really quickly if you want to list that off before we talk about the offense.
Yes, through 9 weeks, we have 64 penalties called upon us, which is second in the NFL, for a total of 602 penalty yards, which is first in the NFL. So teams with that type of numbers, really should not be 5-4. It's kind of a miracle that we've given opposing teams basically 2 full games of offensive yards through penalties. Yeah. And we're 5-4. So all things considered, I think that I just don't understand how. I do agree that the bigger yard plays have been probably bad pass interference calls, but just 5 penalties in the first quarter yesterday, lining up in the neutral zone, inexcusable at this point in the season. 9 weeks in, it's like, how many weeks does our defense need to figure out that you can't line up? You got to line up in a certain spot. So, and we're not even sending people like every play. It's not like it's an extra guy lined up. It's like Clowney's just standing there with his hand in the zone. So I don't know. This defense is to a point where I don't want to say it's predictable, because it seems like it's called different every week, but you see it with teams with elite wide receiving cores are not the issue for me. It's really the quarterback. I think that a year ago today, I think that might be a totally different game, but you could tell between the injury and probably what Zach Taylor has told Joe Burrow, he don't look to run. He really doesn't. Not like he used to at LSU, but you see the good defensive performances this year. They've come against good wide receiving cores. Cincinnati, 3 competent wide receivers. Pittsburgh only give up 15 points. They have 2 to 3 competent wide receivers, good tight end. Minnesota, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. But those 3 teams don't have mobile quarterbacks. You see the teams that we get burnt by. Not Minnesota. Kansas City. Mahomes goes 1-2 reads, and then he can run. Justin Herbert, you saw in that game, 1-2 reads, and then he steps up and he scrambled 1 or 2 times when it was opportune. Kyler Murray was outside of the pocket all day, and when we can't get pressure and our defense just breaks down on the back end, which that happens to a lot of teams. That's why those guys are good quarterbacks in the NFL. But when you see us play a quarterback where it's 1, 2, 3 reads and then he's getting sacked, or it's 1 or 2 reads and he's throwing the ball and our DBs are playing man coverage, it works. It's worked every single time.
Yeah, honestly, something that we should just do more. And that dime package, I think, gives us a lot of good looks in terms of when you're sending guys like Troy Hill on blitzes or even Grant Delpit. But yeah, I mean, something that you just hope will, we've said this before, that we hope continues to roll into the next week in terms of this defense. Obviously, you can't hope for that kind of performance every week, but hopefully get something close to it, similar to it, and you allow that to happen, and on the flip side, your offense will go out and score 41 points, which to be fair, Jeff, this will probably be my only, negative is there probably could have been more points. There could have been more touchdowns and slightly more points. But outside of that, this offense looked completely revitalized. Just a flow to the offense in general, I think, is what was so, different from compared to all of our other games where, sometimes we get stuck in play calling and we get a little bit conservative, but just a phenomenal game from everyone on offense. Obviously, Nick Chubb, huge, finally gets his, big 70-yard run. Needed that all season. I love that for him. Baker having a great game. Obviously didn't have to throw too much, but when he did, thought he was great. The Donovan Peoples-Jones connections were out of this world. Just, I think the balls that DPJ got were phenomenal, and credit to him. He, the one time he took a hit on one of those was, huge, but great throw, great catches, and just an overall great team win on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, for sure. That's the game plan right there. 21 passing attempts for Baker and 23 running attempts from our rushing core between Chubb, of course, with being the workhorse, Dearness Johnson playing a decent complementary role, especially with the lead, and then a handoff to Jarvis Landry, which that was an interesting play call that I was complaining about at the time. I still will complain about. I don't understand. That's probably my biggest thing. I do agree with you with the points because it seemed like, and I don't even remember how we got I don't even know how we got to like the 1 yard line on like our second or third drive, but it was in the first half and we're at the one.
Talking about.
It was the interception. It was the John Johnson interception. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
and he almost, okay. he almost housed it. And we were on like the 2, or I think he returned to the 1 yard line, and then we go past. It's like, come on. I think Stefanski's still a couple instances being a little too cute. The Jarvis read option was super interesting. I think our bag of tricks on 3rd and short is like, I wish those are the plays we were running on like 2nd and long or 1st down. It's like when you have 2 yards, the way our offensive line was kind of bullying their defensive line around. Yeah. I was just ready to just give the ball to Nick Chubb, especially when he's on. You could tell when Nick Chubb is on, and yes, he does break it open for. It's only a matter of time before it gets a 70-yard touchdown like that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Just a phenomenal game. I think that obviously there were instances where we could have had, that particular play with Jarvis. That's a touchdown that I think could have been on the board. I'm trying to think if there were instances, you texted me about the one pass to Njoku in the red zone that should have been higher. I think they followed that up with an Austin Hooper PI. That I think is a good, it's a good find by Baker to make them look over that way and get that flag. And then I think we just rushed it in for a touchdown at that point. And then I think for the rest of the game, honestly, we didn't go for it on 4th downs, which we didn't have to. I think taking the points was finally a really good thing that we did. But overall, I just, great game. I think the things that need to be noticed is the wide receiver like snap counts with Odell gone now. From what I have,
and the receptions, our leading target is Jarvis with 3 receptions as your leader.
Yeah, he had 5 targets and only amounted 11 yards. The routes run in the first game with Odell on 24 Baker Mayfield dropbacks, Jarvis Landry ran 20 routes. Anthony Schwartz ran 17 routes. DPJ ran 16. Demetric Felton 4. And Hollywood Higgins 1. Jeff, he only had 3 total plays that he was in on. He's in the doghouse. What are your thoughts on that snap count and just kind of the usage of the wide receivers with Odell being gone?
It's definitely skewed because we just did not really even run that many plays. I don't know how many times. I mean, only 14 completions for Baker. So they had the ball. It seemed like the whole game Cincinnati had the ball just because our defense was making big play after big play, which is good to see. But what puzzles me out of this, and from what I saw in the game and what I remember, is that every time I've seen Anthony Schwartz catch the ball, the dude has been wide open. And I've only seen him catch the ball, like handful of times.
Yeah.
But it's like that play where that play over the middle, he was wide open. DPJ wide open on the plays. And I'm still calling this a win, of course, for our offense and for our receiving, because 9 weeks for a play over the top and for DPJ, like it really took that long. It's like, okay, what did Cincinnati's defense do good yesterday? They defended the bubble screens and, the little outs to the tight ends, because that's what they know we run. So if there's been a hint of me that's always thought that Stefanski doesn't use the whole playbook. I still don't think he does. Yeah. And it doesn't make any sense to me. I think we could be putting up 40 points a week if we took shots over the middle, if we took shots downfield, if we got away from, setting up the tempo and in your first 15 plays being scripted, running back screen. It's definitely different now without Kareem out there and, tight end screens. But after that, man, let's open the ball up and let's throw it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we're going to need to do that. We have very tough games lined up. Obviously, this next one is very, one that I think as time has gone has gotten more and more to that point that it's going to be a very competent matchup and a very, tough, I think, not very tough, but I think it's, a very good team with the Patriots at Foxborough, and obviously against a great head coach, a rookie quarterback, but they have the same record as us and are leading us in the AFC right now. So obviously a huge game that we're going to need to win and probably going to need to put up similar points to. But Jeff, before we wrap this one up, since I don't think we've had a game where this has really been applicable in my mind, I want you on the spot, 3 game balls. You're giving out 3 game balls in the locker room after the game. You can do it. You can do it to coaches or you can do it to players, whatever you want. I'm gonna give you some time. I have my 3 picked out. I'm going with the 2018 draft class. I'm going Baker Mayfield, Denzel Ward, and Nick Chubb. No particular order in that, just those 3 in general. I think all 3 of them showed up today, did some great things, and hopefully will continue to do great things moving forward. But Jeff, how about you? Who's the first game ball going to?
First game ball for me, super easy, and that is guard Wyatt Teller. That is very simple to me. Pay him whatever he asks. You know how I feel about that. Second game ball goes to Baker Mayfield for outplaying Joe Burrow and totally being like Cincinnati's like his second home. It's very, very weird, but it's good to see. You need to develop those narratives. I mean, Cincinnati's a team we should be beating. We're better than them. We're more talented, I believe. And, it's a divisional game. And I'll stick with the 2018 class and I'll go Nick Chubb, because that's just a game where we were talking all week. You basically need a vintage Nick Chubb performance, and that's exactly what we got.
Very fair. I love that you're keeping it all on the offensive side. Hopefully that'll stay true moving forward. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. If you have not already, please subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a like on this video, and leave us a comment. Hopefully you guys, maybe you have something to say about the whole, Odell departure and this leading to a timely victory for the Browns, or you just have comments on the game in general and performances by specific players, but we want to hear what your guys' thoughts are. And with that being said, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.